The Bob TV Network presents, broadcasting live from the greatest city in the world, New York City. It's the Bobby Brown Show. And now here's your host, Bobby Brown.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. What up? Welcome to another episode of the Bobby Brown Show. How you doing today? Before we get started, got a little housekeeping. You know how we do it here. Go make sure that you're subscribed, because YouTube always unsubscribing people. Nothing I do, nothing you do, but they just got a habit of playing with people and unsubscribing you. And next thing you know, you don't get any alerts, you don't get anything, you don't get nothing from me. And I want to make sure that you get everything from me. So go ahead and make sure you still subscribe. Go ahead and do it right now. Hit the subscribe button. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that little bell, that notification bell, and make sure it's on always. And last but not least, like this video and share it on your social media, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And I want to start off with Donald Trump. That's right, DT. Some of y'all savior. I look at him as another businessman from New York. And we all know how he gets down here in New York. He has his good and he has his bad. He has more bad than good. But hey, we'll all fall short of the glory of God. So we're going to talk about him today, because there was a time period when Donald Trump was a hero to people. Everybody looked up to Donald Trump. We read his books, The Art of the Deal. He had the book with Robert Kiyosaki, How We Want to Make You Rich. And Robert Kiyosaki was looking up to Donald Trump being a millionaire, and he's a millionaire. So Trump ties, Trump products and stuff like that. We were in the game with Trump until he put his mouth on Barack Obama, started getting a little racist with Barack Obama. Just mad that the brother ran for office and became president, and he been talking about running for president forever, or possibly running. And because of his lackadaisicness of not following up on what he knew he should have did a long time ago, because Trump was a smart intellect. Look, people, don't let this dumbness, don't be fooled and really believe that Trump is a dumb, simple Simon or simpleton. He is not. He's graduated from the Wharton Business School. He went to Fordham University. You don't get in Fordham University unless you got some brains. I don't care how much money you got. He's smart. Don't you dare think that. He'll play like a fool to fool you. He'll act like a ditz to ditz you. But he is no fool. He's no fool. So during that time, Trump talked about running for office. He even talked about making his first VP, Oprah Winfrey.
To possibly seek the candidacy of the Reform Party. Do you have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Well, I really haven't gotten quite there yet.
I guess it's just
Oprah. I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice. Oprah, your competitor, right?
Oprah's a competitor.
You know what? I'll tell you, she's really a great woman, though. She is a terrific woman. She's somebody that's very special. I have not even thought about it. I guess we'll see. We'll see. Maybe that's part of the whole process.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Trump liked black people with money. Average black person, I don't know. I don't think he really care. I don't think Trump like anybody but rich people. If you're a poor white, Trump ain't your guy. He'll play your emotions just to get your vote. But Trump ain't nothing but the rich person's friend. If you got money, Trump's your man. He likes you. You like. He'll respect you. He'll give you honor. You look at that from Mike Tyson to Don King to Jesse Jackson. Those who got prominence. Donald Trump was the one that funded Jesse Jackson program. Donald Trump gave him some of the biggest office space, made his world headquarters, his campaign, not in Chicago, but in Trump Towers on 60 Wall Street in New York City. Gave him the biggest place in the building and didn't charge him anything.
I now want to bring forth a friend who has, he is deceptive in that his social style is of such. One can miss his seriousness and his commitment for their success is beyond argument. Panel workshop on what are the challenges and opportunities. And so this, a year later, Donald Trump, for a few minutes, challenges and opportunities to embrace the underserved communities. Donald Trump.
Well, it is an honor to be here, and I was with Jesse last year, and we had a lot of fun, and it was a little different. Jesse started off by saying, most of the wealth in this country is in the hands of a few. And I thought to myself, is that a bad thing? What's wrong with that, Jesse? But he did have an expression last year, and I was just telling Roger, he had an expression last year, the wall on wall must fall. And you haven't used it today, and I'm very disappointed in this, Jesse, because I thought it was a great expression. And I heard the expression about 14 times, and then he came to me at the end of the session, and he said, listen, I want some office space in your building on Wall Street, because the wall on wall will fall. And I said, it's okay, Jesse, I'll make a good deal with you. I'll get you some space. You'll pay about $40 a foot. And he said, no, I don't want to pay 40. I said, how about 30? No. It was the cheapest deal I ever made in the history of 40 Wall Street. Is that right? He got it for nothing. He's a very tough negotiator. We know that, right? Nah, he's a terrific guy. We love him, and I'm here for him. And the snow came, and I said, you know.
When Gaddafi was being blacklisted by the United States, it was Trump who provided Gaddafi a place to stay. Trump has done a lot. Trump has done a lot of philanthropy work. He's rebuilt a skating rink in Harlem for black kids. I don't like to say black and brown because most of that neighborhood black. He's given money to programs such as the Menacing Organization to fund after-school program. So he has his good and bad. Okay, so but right now in this season, in this election season, we got a lot of lies going on, a lot of misconceptions going on, and that's where I come in to try to bring some truth. Now, if you have not seen it, I don't think I got these pictures anymore. Let me see if I can pull it up on the Tron. I've spent a lot of quality time. Yeah, I think I just saw it. Did I just saw it? I spent some quality time with the Central Park Five Boys. Great bunch of guys who just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And these guys are innocent, and Donald Trump owed them an apology. Donald Trump owed them some money. This is when Donald Trump appeared on the Fresh Prince show. Donald Trump was a celebrity, appeared on a lot of movies. Home Alone, had his own show, The Apprentice, and he was a likable guy back then, until he put his mouth on Obama and black people lost their mind. You don't put your mouth on our black savior. And this was the episode from The Fresh Prince.
Pleasure to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Donald Trump. It's the Donald! Oh my God! Mr. and Mrs. Trump, it's an honor to meet you.
Fair Use Comedy Central. Fair Use Comedy Central. I'm doing commentary. I'm explaining some things, so just shut your mouth.
Ron said his client had a rich uncle, but Donald Trump.
I like keeping a low profile.
Hi, Hillary Banks.
Hey, Hillary.
You know, you look much richer in person.
Hey, Mr. Trump. Hey, how you doing? Will Smith. Hey, listen, you are getting a great house here. And this is quite a deal you're getting for it, too. Look, I'll tell you what. You want another?
Again, fair use.
The 50 grand, I cut the grass for you every Saturday.
Look, folks, before we go too far, I've got something to tell you.
Excuse me, but I've got something to tell you first. Thank you for ruining my life.
Ashley!
What did you do?
Everybody's always blaming me for everything.
Come on,
And I want to stop it right there. Everybody blames Trump for everything. And Trump, fair play, blame a lot of things on everybody sometimes. Being very correct in this situation when it comes to Donald Trump, because I try to be fair and balanced. Now, a lot of reason I really don't hit hard on Trump is because he's not my guy. I really clap back on the Democratic Party because of the way they manipulate my people. The Republican Party don't manipulate my people because the Republican Party haven't been really genuinely concerned about black people until Trump came. And Trump seems to be concerned, seemed to want to have a program, seemed to put black people in positions of power, seemed to develop programs that's going to uplift black people in general. And one thing I can't say about Donald Trump, he don't do this black and brown. He's specific. The opportunity zones were a plan to specifically target the black community, not act like it's a black program when it's really going to help minorities and stuff like that. It was strictly for black people. He intended to try to get people out of jail with the First Step Act and try to develop a program to help deal with criminal justice and to try to overturn Joe Biden's crime bill. That was Donald Trump. Now, I will say this. Because of a lack of integrity in the political field, when you do your research, people are going to say, hey, all these stuff were fallacies. It never existed. He didn't do that. Like, for an example, the money that Trump gave to HBCU. Well, there's a black woman who pushed for that program and pushed to get the finances, but we can't just say she was the only person to make that happen. It was Donald Trump who had to sign that off to send all these monies to black universities, historically black colleges. So there's a parent of the two. And I can't lie, because if he didn't sign the doggone thing, that money wouldn't have got out. So he has his role to play, whether you think it's big or small, and she had her role to play. She played the biggest part, but he had a part to play also in releasing those funds. And even dealing with COVID. Now, my thing with Trump is responsible. I hold Trump responsible for the COVID pandemic because he was so slow to lock this country down. And with the Democrats egging him on, the Democrats is not innocent in this because they told him it would be xenophobic and racist if you shut the program down. Don't call it the Chinese flu when we always call flus by regions and countries, Ebola, Zika, Spanish. We always did that. Now we want to be, racially correct. Don't call it the Chinese flu. Trump called it the Chinese flu, but Trump is responsible for not doing executive order to shut that place, shut this country down. And a lot of those deaths, he do bear responsibility, and don't you dare think he don't bear responsibility. Had he acted at the beginning, a lot of lives would have been saved. So the blood is on his hand, as well as the blood on Joe Biden's hand and Mayor Cuomo's hand, all these people's hand, because there were treatment that was available that doctors were using, but they wanted to shun those treatments, shame it, call it fake news and false information, and do whatever they can to shame it to the point where no doctor wanted to give it out until they got a vaccine. So all of them have their part to play. Now, getting back to Donald Trump. Where things went south for Donald Trump one time was the Central Park boys. And in that conviction, Donald Trump, you know how the police department is. The police department round these young kids up, playing the fear game, telling them they're going to be locked up for life, putting pressure on them to confess against each other. You know how they do. And at the same time, trying to get them to plea bargain or confess the crimes that they didn't commit.
5 youths were arrested at 14 to 15 years of age.
You can only imagine the pressure to have this crime solved and solved quickly. First we was all together, then they started to put us in different rooms. What did you do? Who were you with? Who did you come with?
If they confessed, and that was that.
A lot of people didn't do their jobs. We falsely convicted them, and we walked away from our crimes.
Elizabeth Lederer, who was up there working alongside the police.
Elizabeth Lederer was the prosecutor in the Central Park jogger case.
Making statements, you know, and open confessions in front of their parents.
All of them except Yusef Salam. He never goes on video and never makes a written statement. And the reason is because his mother comes in and says no.
I kept telling them I wanted a lawyer. I told them several times. I had witnesses who heard me tell them. And they continued to do what they planned to do because they had an agenda.
By all accounts, she was incredibly diligent. She was not one of these prosecutors who were just in it to win.
You have the right to remain silent and to refuse to answer any questions.
So at this point, after Knight in police custody moved from precinct to precinct, Kevin Richardson implicated himself in this night of mayhem, with numerous assaults and possibly the rape of Tricia Miley.
Everybody was surrounding her, and I came over there.
Kevin Richardson had a scratch under his eye. So the detectives asked him, how did you get the scratch under your eye?
I got in the way. She got me, scratched me a little bit. It wasn't a face.
Let me just ask you saying that she scratched you and you're indicating a place on your face?
Yeah, I think somewhere right here.
And it's not just Richardson. Other teenagers are implicating themselves on video too.
When I start hitting that stuff, and she's on the ground, everybody stopping and everything.
This is my first rape. I never did this before. This is going to be my last time doing it.
Antoine's going for her clothes. No place is putting her arms.
And while he was doing that, you were feeling her breasts with both hands? You see this lady, jogging lady? She had on blue shorts.
But those just aren't the facts. Tricia Mealy that night was wearing tights on her legs.
She's jogging around the thing around the reservoir.
She wasn't jogging at the reservoir, which is more than half a mile away from where she was found.
Was you sit there?
Yes.
When I first saw those tapes, I didn't disbelieve them. Like anybody else, when I watch a confession tape, my first impulse is, whoa, an innocent person really wouldn't do that.
What you told that to the police before, was it true?
I don't remember saying that.
My second impulse is to listen to the details and to be influenced by them.
The inconsistencies in Corey Wise's statement and his statements about using a knife in the commission of the crime, I think are just complete exaggerations. He was a very difficult person to interview because he kept changing his story.
When you watch Corey, it's almost like he's desperate to get it right. He tells one story at this moment, he tells this story at another moment. Well, yeah, when you look at false confession cases, it's because when they told the truth, you didn't believe them and you made them change it.
It was Kevin Richardson who volunteered, this is where I tackled the woman, the jogger. Right about here. I said, well, how did her body get from here down the ravine? Who took her down the ravine? He said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? I said, the body was found down that hill. He said, I don't know how she got there.
To look back at these statements, there are huge problems. They're inconsistent within themselves. They're inconsistent relative to the other statements, and they're inconsistent relative to the facts.
How did those marks get on her head? I shouldn't say that those aren't the marks of a knife. She has a fractured skull. She was hit with a very, very heavy object there. Corey, you saw that picture. You don't get these lines. You don't get a fractured skull from that.
The more it looks like it's from like, it's like a rock. I did see Kevin pick up a hand rock, a small hand rock, and hit across the face with it.
Are you just saying that because I am asking you?
No.
Why didn't you say it before? Why didn't you say it before?
Yeah, I remember me taking a quick glance in the dark. I remember him picking up a rock from out the dirt.
Another problem for the cops and the prosecutors was that every time they went to talk to another one of the Central Park Five, they heard that different people were actually the ones that did it.
Raymond had an arm, Steve had a leg. He spread it out. And Antoine by himself.
What was Kevin doing while Steve Lopez was holding her hands and hitting her with a brick?
He was having sex with her.
You said that someone had sex with her?
Yeah, Kevin, wait. It was Stephen Ray.
Of course, there are going to be some inconsistencies between the statements. And in my experience, when you take statements, there's kind of a range, right?
They minimize their own involvement in it by saying, but he did more than I did.
I was spreading my legs.
What were you doing to your legs?
Huh? I was going up and down my legs. I wasn't doing as much as they was doing.
Grab her arms stuff. Okay, were you grabbing her arms?
Yeah. The teenagers believed that if they said something, they could get out of the interrogation room.
All I had to do is tell the truth. I probably would have been home.
What they didn't realize was the detectives handed them a shovel.
According to the law of New York, by saying, I didn't do the rape, I just held her down, that is as guilty under the law as if saying I climbed on top of a woman and raped her.
I think we're at the point where we're thinking there may well be a brain dysfunction as recovery proceeds.
At least a half a dozen reporters gathered around Dr. Robert Kurtz asking for more details.
Reporters descended on the hospital. We had to sort of hang out in the lobby and wait for the reports to come in from the doctor.
When it becomes known that a group of teenagers of color are accused of doing this to that white investment banker, that poor woman, it's going to explode New York City.
For people to go to their defense is unbelievable. For people to go to their defense is unbelievable.
Politics, race.
If it wasn't black women, y'all wouldn't even be here.
Emotions. The justice system, all are going to come together like a fireball.
There is a Donald Trump connection to this case.
You better believe that I hate the people that took this girl and raped her brutally.
And when you confess to a crime, it is the public's option that if you confess to the crime, then they have the right to be outraged. You confess to it. Now, nobody knows that most people didn't consider the fact that you probably was coerced, that you had pressure on you, that they pit you between one another, because that's what they do in the hood. Now, in the hood, in the streets, we know these things happen, but in the upper echelon of society, they don't believe these things happen because they're not in the hood to see these things happen. So when you hear about, oh, they coerced me, or they concluded, or they offered me this plea deal and stuff like that, if I confess, doesn't mean you really did it, but you say things, you break under pressure and say things so you feel you can get a lot of that monkey off your back, a little heat off your back. So these boys confessed to a crime that they really didn't commit, but nobody knew about it until later on. Let me repeat that. They confessed to a crime they confessed to a crime. And when you confess to a crime, you admit guilt. You admit guilt. Can we be fair about some stuff? And no, I'm not taking up for none of them. And I'll post a picture in the Tron of the time I spent quality time with these guys, just getting to know them. So they have their fault to play. But the reason they did that is because of fear, intimidation. Those boys were scared out of their mind. A woman just got brutally raped and almost on her deathbed. Brutally raped by some maniac in what's supposed to be one of the most beautiful parks, safe parks in all of the world, and that's Central Park. Now, mind you, Trump has an office over there in Central Park. I think it's Trump, some apartments he got over there by Columbus Square. And it is supposed to be like the beacon of Central Park. It is the most beautiful area of Central Park, carriage rides and everything. So Trump hold that place sacred to his heart. So when you hear about somebody raping somebody brutally and confessing to it, Trump, he's gonna run his big mouth and he's gonna write a check that his butt can't cash. He's gonna overstep himself with his words and mince words. Now, let me take you to a video of Trump talking about on the Central Park Five Boys. Fair use, TRT world. Fair use. Fair use. Okay, I got it muted, so let me unmute that.
Something done. Of course I hate these people. And let's all hate these people, because maybe hate is what we need if we're going to get something done.
Now, why would Trump say he hate these boys? People are so quick to believe a confession, and they react to a confession. They never look at the fact that this confession could have been coerced. It could have been drawn out of them through fear and intimidation. So for Trump to say, now let's say some little girl in my neighborhood get killed, brutally raped. They found the suspect and that suspect confessed. I'm not thinking whether it's true or not. I'm like, then we need to go up there and that's one of our babies. And honestly speaking, in community policing, you should be able to take care of business. See, when you go to Chinatown in Queens, they have a section where they have community polices. They wear little yellow jackets or something to signify this, that they're community policing. And you ain't going to be just doing whatever you're doing in that neighborhood. They're going to handle you accordingly. And we in the black neighborhood need to go back to that, policing our own neighborhoods, having our own neighborhood watch, have our own neighborhood, I wouldn't say vigilante, but don't play for us. You know, used to be the drug dealers didn't want kids being like them, you know. So they'll do whatever they can to protect certain kids. You ain't gonna mess with no kids in our neighborhood. I bust a cap in your behind. So just imagine somebody in your neighborhood brutally raped, and then all of a sudden they catch somebody and they confess it. And you believe in the death penalty, and you think this was horrible, that the way they brutalized this, and you probably saw a picture of it or somebody described, you're gonna want their heads too. And in this case, Trump already being the overbearing, over-the-top person he is, this was his result when he found out these boys confessed.
Found a female. She was still alive. In fact, still is.
I am strongly in favor of the death penalty. I'm saying if they're found guilty, if the woman died, which she hopefully will not be dying, but if the woman died, I think they should be executed.
Now, he said if these boys are found guilty. He didn't say if they're innocent or nothing like that. He said if they're found guilty, they need the death penalty. Now, I'm not a believer in the death penalty. I don't think there's no reason for you to kill somebody. Well, let me say that. I ain't gonna say that. You kill my child, I believe in personal death penalty. You kill my baby, there's a high chance that I might not do thoughts and prayers and Lord forgive me. When my son was shaken by my stepmother, I gave my wife every opportunity to go do what she felt like she needed to do. But somebody had to sit there rationally and say, who's going to take care of him? Because if both of us go to jail, or if one of us going to go to jail, who's going to raise him? You know. But I gave her that option. I wouldn't have fought her. And, you know, I love my stepbrothers and sisters, but you were ultimately responsible for the brain damage that ultimately killed my son. And his mama got a right to take you out. I got a right to take you out, but this happened on my side of the family. And she could hate me, but she never took the time to hate me. We love each other. We ain't married. We ain't gonna get married, but, you know, love each other with the love of God. But I told him, yeah, you can go ahead and take her out. But she was suffering from brain injury and stuff like that. Toughest part for me was to try to still have a relationship with my dad, knowing he's still married to the woman who damaged my son's brain. And part of one of the reasons why our relationship, me and my ex-wife relationship, didn't last, because I was going to spend some time with my dad and her. And that caused tension. Well, anyway, that's not the point. I don't believe in the death penalty unless somebody personally do something to you and your family. You do something to my family, it's a wrap, son. You better get out of here. fast. Leave the country. Because if I find your behind,
Delete, 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 delete.
So in this, Trump said, and this is the part they don't play.
The woman died. I think they should be executed. The woman died, which she...
Listen to it. I am strongly in favor of the death penalty. I'm not Donald Trump.
I am strongly in favor of the death penalty. I'm saying if they're found guilty.
I'm saying if they're found guilty, if the woman die, if they're found guilty and that woman die. I said no, if they're found guilty and the woman die. Usually in a first degree murder case, there used to be the death penalty. In Florida, they used to electrocute you behind. Texas, they do the gas chamber, lethal injection, whatever. But I'm not for capital punishment. Trump is saying, I'm saying if they're found guilty, if the woman die.
If the woman died, which she hopefully will not be.
Which she hopefully will not be dying.
But if the woman died, I think they should be executed.
He say if the woman died, he think that these kids should be executed. And I say no kids should be executed, ever. I don't think any adult should be executed ever, but in some cases, just like with abortion, I'm pro-life, but some cases I can see the mother making a decision to keep the child or to have the child. Certain conditions. When it comes to death, certain conditions. So Trump paid $85,000 for this ad to run in the New York's top paper, and we're going to go over this. They're going to blame all this on Trump. He poisoned the mind of many people who lived in New York who rightfully had a natural affinity for the victim. Now, listen. Donald Trump say if these boys are found guilty and she die, they deserve the death penalty. Again, no, not if they're kids. No, Donald Trump, you're wrong. They don't. Okay? Even at me personally as an adult, they still don't deserve it, but we realize that some societies, they do allow capital punishment. Now, Donald Trump said in that ad, I want to bring it back to New York. It said he poisoned the mind of many people who lived in New York who rightfully had a natural affinity for the victim. Now, that started way before Trump. Joe Biden was down there talking about the crime bill and us accosting his mama and cracking upside the head and all that.
There are 60 new death penalties, brand new, 60. There are 70 additional enhancements of penalties, i.e. you go to jail longer, $1.3 billion more for law enforcement than when it left here. And it has an additional $3.2 billion for prisons.
We now know 20 years later that it wasn't the correct response, that it helped to fuel this issue of mass incarceration that we're now dealing with.
And he was harder than the right when it come to policing and police dominating, or authoritarian dominating, using the blue uniform. That was Joe Biden. That was Bill Clinton. And all those racists that Joe Biden loved to hang out with, like Eastman and Thurman and all those boys. Trying to impress them, he created this bill that made them proud. Look at that good old, look at that good, our boy, look at our boy old Biden over there, coming up with one of the most racist, I could make a racist man like me very proud to have that bill. You talking about this letter was racist. That bill was racist. Now that letter can only shape the minds of people who read that letter. That crime bill, whether you read it or not, is going to shape a whole generation. Now, let's keep going. In 2002, one of the boys who went to jail talked to the person who really raped her. And as a result of that, they were exonerated. They received a $41 million settlement, so that's about $7 to $8 million each one of them in 2014. Now, that's the city. That's the city. Now, they wanted to move to sue Trump for that ad, because that ad probably did have a effect. You got to understand the influence Donald Trump has in New York City, especially in the Midtown Manhattan area. You know, huge influence. At that time, Donald Trump was a Democrat. And Donald Trump was one of the biggest financiers of those who want to run for office. If you want to run for office, everybody went to Donald Trump to get money. And Donald Trump obliged them with money, whether he was on the left or the right, for his own personal interest. He'll play both sides of the aisle to make sure that these politicians was in his pocket. And when he needed to get something done, he got it done. That's the power of leverage and money. And hopefully we black people in the community, once we get more money, we learn how to lobby people to do what we want them to do instead of us begging them and asking them. But that's what Trump did. Trump been friends with the Clintons for over 40 years. The Clintons went to their wedding. Chelsea and Ivanka they've been friends forever. So Trump has played both sides of the aisle. Trump was the first one that came to Jesse Jackson aid to fund his campaign, a black man. Trump was the first person to come to the aid. Well, he always came to the aid of Al Sharpton. That's why it surprised me when Al Sharpton go up there or Jesse Jackson go up there and they start talking about the man. And if that man didn't finance their campaign, they would have never had a shot at the presidency, because they didn't have that kind of money. And to go as far as giving you a piece of my property. And I can understand Trump be like, yo, man, all this stuff I did for y'all just diss me like that? Y'all gonna throw me under the bus like that? Y'all gonna sit there and let them accuse me of stuff like that? You know, without fighting for me? You know, so Trump a little butthurt. But saying all that, Trump has put a lot of money into stuff for people for office. So Trump at that time was a Democrat. Trump need to repent. He need to say, I was wrong. Whatever evidence they had, and then you don't need a lot of evidence. Somebody else confessed to the crime. And when they did look into the lady and did semen examples and DNA and hair and stuff like that, because you'll just get that and struggle through your fingernails or struggling and things like that, you'll find out sooner or later who that person was. Well, it wasn't these 5 boys. And for Donald Trump to say, hey, if they're guilty, they need the death penalty, these boys were found guilty mainly because of their confession. And we need to change the system where no police officer will be able to put that kind of pressure on you to confess to a crime that you didn't get, to lie to you, to scheme to you, to manipulate you, thinking, well, if I'm looking at 100 years, but if I just say I did it, they're going to give me 10. What do you expect to do? 10 versus 100. You're going to probably comply. Donald Trump should never use the fact that they did confess to the crime. And you Trump nug huggers should not use this as a fact that they confessed to the crime. Yes, they confessed to the crime because of fear, intimidation, man. If you see these boys during that whole process, they're frightened out of their mind. They just took some kids going out, hanging out on the street. They wasn't the one out there wilding, as they called it. They didn't call themselves the wolf pack, but that's the narrative that the media put out concerning these boys. Wilding, wolf pack. He's just some kids going to Kennedy Fried Chicken to get some chicken and hang out in the park. I've been to the south part of Central Park. It's a nice little area over there by Malcolm X Boulevard near 110th Street. That area is nice. These boys on that side of the area, but they got accused of the crime that happened between maybe 95th Street. But Trump have to understand this. And in my opinion, Trump need to take some time out and sit down with these boys and have a round table talk. And Trump need to come with a humble heart and repent to those boys and say, hey, when I heard that you guys confessed, I assume you did it. That's the reason why I went with the ad saying that, hey, if they did it, I didn't want you to get killed just because you did it. But if she died, I wanted you to be tried as an adult. I wanted you to get the death penalty like an adult because you confessed to it. And I didn't even think about the fact that they could have been coercing you, manipulating you. You guys were just kids. And not only that, Donald Trump need to break them off. But that's not what this is about. These guys went to the Democratic convention. Now, before this, Donald Trump came out to talk to news reporters. At least he goes out and talk to the reporter. He ain't afraid of it. He went out and talked to the news reporters and had this to say.
April. Mr. President, will you apologize to Central Park 5? They've been exonerated. There have been videos and movies shown about the case, and you came out with a full-page ad saying that they should die, that they should have the death penalty. Why do you bring that question up now? It's an interesting time to bring.
Now, again, Donald Trump say, hey, they confessed to it, and if they did it, if they really did it, and that woman died, they should get the death penalty. Now, I go back and say this again. Trump, no child should get the death penalty. None. Even if they did it, they still shouldn't get the death penalty, because people do stupid things, and God work on people hard and change them. And they end up being better citizens as a result of it. But this is what he said after April. Of course, the black news reporter that her and Trump got a contentious relationship with. Number one, because she's a Democratic shield reporter instead of being a fair and balanced reporter. And don't try to impress the political parties. Impress your newspaper, not your political parties, April. And vice versa, Trump. You got to give the news reporters some level of respect.
Bring it up. You have people on both sides of that. They admitted their guilt. If you look at Linda Fairstein and if you look at some of the prosecutors, they think that the city should never have settled that case. So
they didn't say anything about settling the case, Donald Trump. They didn't say nothing about settling the case. She said, are you going to apologize? Him being the narcissistic fool that he is, apology is just not in narcissist's blood. It's the same way with Joe Biden. Joe Biden never, ever would say, I apologize. He wrote the crime bill, and we've been whooping his behind, saying, shame on you. You don't repent for writing the crime bill? No. And if you say something about him being kind of a little harsh and prejudiced, he'll expect you to apologize to him. You need to apologize to me. See, that's what cocky, arrogant, sociopath, narcissistic sociopaths do. And they got them on the left and the right. It's a mental condition. It ain't got nothing to do with political parties. But let's let Trump finish.
We'll leave it at that.
So Trump said, look, they had the evidence. They think they shouldn't have been settled. Well, it should have been settled, Trump. They were innocent. They did the DNA testing. The dude who confessed to it in jail is the one who did it. So you should repent. You need to say, I'm sorry. You need to fix this, because now the Democratic Party has gotten those boys in their pockets when they should have been fair and balanced about this situation and not politicize this and make it about you. Because it's not just about Trump, folks. It's not just about Trump. Let me go to that article Trump had, and we're going to read what Trump said in the article. And the article is entitled, I thought I had this in a PDF file. I got this in a PDF somewhere. Let's see. Now, I'm going to read something that Trump said in an article. He said, and this was about 10 days after the boys started to confess. It said, real estate magnate Donald Trump called on May 1st, 1989 for the return of the death penalty for the murders in full-page advertising, published in all four of the city's major newspapers. Trump said he wanted the criminals of every age to be afraid. So that article was not just about the Central Park 5 boys. It's any criminal, no matter what age they are. If you're going to violently attack somebody and they die, you too should get the death penalty. And in his hindsight, in his mind, he was saying, I'm trying to scare them to the point that nobody does this. Not on our watch. I want them to know that if you do this kind of crime, if you kill somebody in a heinous, stupid crime, you should go to the death penalty. And let me tell you something. When you start being that strong, it works sometimes. It works. But let me get into this article about what Donald Trump said. All right, bring our police back. What has happened to our city over the past 10 years? What has happened to the city and law and order to the neighborhood cops we all trusted to safeguard our homes and families. You can do that, Donald Trump, because of your skin nature. Cops are not that brutal towards you guys, but they have a habit of putting the cops of an opposite skin color and an opposite of mindset, don't know nothing about the hood, the streets, and don't know nobody in it. They come in there bullying, being aggressive. So oftentimes, the ones that you held as the best thing on the planet, the police department, a lot of them are doing criminal activity too, Trump. They're not all that good as you say they are. The cops who had the power under the law to help us in time of danger, keep us safe from those who would prey on innocent lives to fulfill some distorted inner needs. Now, I guarantee you most people, they've seen this article but never read it, but we're going to go over it. What has happened to the respect for authority, the fear of retribution by the courts, society and the police for those who break the law, who want only trespass on the rights of others? What has happened is the complete breakdown of life as we knew it. In other words, Trump's saying we have gotten to the point where there's no respect for the police, there's no respect for the rule of law, same stuff he's talking about now, and we got to bring that back. We got to make it where you really better think about doing any criminal activity, because the consequences is far worse than your choice. Your thing that you're doing that can end up getting you in jail. I want you to think about the thing that can end up getting you in jail before you do the thing that you're about to do, which is a proper mindset when it comes to controlling the streets, controlling the narrative when it comes to policing. We have a strong death penalty, and if you mess around and somebody die, you gonna die. If you murder somebody and they die, no matter what, you're gonna die. If you come into this country, you sell drugs, and that person died from your drugs or died in a shootout that you were involved, and it was about you and your cartel or your business, you gonna die. That's why Trump has in his Agenda 47 that drug dealers, if somebody die in their situation, they're gonna So the things that Trump is talking about here, he wants to implement them in his presidency. Again, Trump, the problem with that is a lot of people are not doing those things. And they are assumed that they are. And your boys in blue kind of get a little more aggressive over them. Now, let me go back to it. Many New York families, white, black, Hispanic, and Asians, many New York families, white, black, Hispanic, and Asians, so he's including colors, all colors in here, have had to give up the pleasure of a leisurely stroll in the park at dusk, the Saturday visit to the playground with their family, the bike ride at dawn, or just sitting on their stoops, giving them up as hostages to a world ruled by the law of the streets and roving bands of wild criminals roaming our neighborhoods, dispensing their own vicious brand of twisted hatred on whomever they encounter. At what point did we cross the line, the fine and noble pursuit of genuine civil liberties, to the reckless and dangerously permissive atmosphere which allowed criminals of every age to beat and rape a helpless woman and then laugh at her family's anguish? And who do they laugh? They laugh because they know that soon, very soon, they'll be returned on the streets to rape and maim and kill once again, yet face no great personal risk to themselves. Now, he's trying to paint a picture that we need to get to the point where everybody's safe on the street. And we need to put some harsh penalties on those who commit crime, especially this one. Now, I don't know if them boys are laughing, but you got some people that they did dirt. This was the height of the drug game and making money and stuff like that, and people trying to survive. And, sometimes doing a heist is serious. Sometimes you do a heist, it's nothing to them. Some people, it's nothing for them to kill somebody. Even to this day, it's nothing for certain people to kill somebody. But again, in this article, Trump has to should have put himself in a place of understanding that everybody's not the same, especially in the low income areas, and everybody don't think the same, even those who are doing wrong. There's levels to their wrongdoing. Some people not to the extreme where they'll rape and kill somebody. And if you're with somebody like that, if you know somebody like that, you tend to stay away from that person. But let me digress and keep going. Mayor Koch has stated that hate and rancor should be removed from our hearts. I don't think so. This is the problem with Donald Trump. I understand you're mad because somebody near your park that is of high value when it comes to homes over there, because that's what it's all about. This article was all about high value. He don't want the value to go down on a lot of those homes which he owned near Central Park. That's why he's so upset and raged about it. Mayor Koch, another Democrat at the time. So you got Trump, who was a Democrat. Mayor Koch was a Democrat. Stated that hate and rancor in our hearts. No, I don't think so. We need to hate. We need to hate these muggers and murderers. They should be forced to suffer. And when they kill, they should be executed for their crime. Let me repeat that. Mayor Koch said we need to have rancor and should be rancor. Hate and rancor should be removed from our heart. I do not think so. I want to hate these muggers. I want to hate these murderers. They should be forced to suffer. And when they kill, they should execute for their crime. Now, most people will agree with that. That if somebody do something so horrible, you're going to knock an old lady down, beat her down, because this stuff was happening back then in New York. You're going to beat her down, snatch her pocketbook, beat her down, snatch her pocketbook. She falls, hit her head on a park bench, and then she almost left for dead. You don't think the people will be saying something like that? Now, I'm the type of person that there's reason why people do things. Some of it mental health, some of people just evil, some people are just doing things to survive, and that's a fault to our society. Or that's a fault to that person who would rather rob somebody than go out there and find a job. They want the quick and easy money. So these things are a little complicated when you look at the situation, because in this article, he's expressing that, hey, if you do some crime like that and you're found guilty, either by evidence or you confessing, and that person die, you need to die. And if you don't die, you need to be doing some hard time in jail. Bring back law and order. They must serve as example so the others will think long and hard before committing a crime or an act of violence. In other words, when these people commit crimes, we need to put the hammer on them to the point that it will scare other people to not ever do nothing. In other words, you are doing the same thing that they did to those Central Park 5 boys, Trump. You're believing that fear and intimidation is the way to go to bring the crime down. Now, I can understand where you're going, because crime is a fear and intimidation all on its own that keep people in the house, to keep people off the streets, to not experience the beauty of New York. I love New York. It's a beautiful place. But if there's a lot of crime and stuff like that, and it's going up now since we got the migrants here, and we got Venezuelans here, and we got the different types of gangs here from Venezuela that's organizing, doing stuff. A lot of people staying inside. And Trump, if it was today, he was like, no, we need to get these people. And we need to make an example of them. Because people need to be free to walk around and do what they do, but people won't do it as long as we got these people out here mugging and murdering and don't think nothing of it. And then we go back and say this again. Mayor Koch has stated that hate and rancor should be removed from our hearts. And I agree with that. You shouldn't go around hating people, ranking. But Trump said, I don't think so. I want to hate these muggers and the murderers. They should be forced to suffer when they kill. They should be executed for their crimes. When they kill, keyword is when they kill, they should be executed for their crime. They must serve an example so that others will think long and hard before committing a crime or an act of violence. Yes, Mayor Koch, I want to hate these murderers, and I always will. I'm not looking to psychoanalyze and understand them. I am looking to punish them. If the punishment is strong, the attack on the innocent people will stop. I recently watched a newscast trying to explain the anger in these young men. I no longer want to understand their anger. I want them to understand our anger, and I want them to be afraid. Well, Donald Trump, this is why you need to shut up and don't do stuff like that, because you're making these guys guilty before they're found guilty. They're confessed. It was a brutal crime. They confessed. So we need to use these boys as an example to everybody else that if you do something like this, especially around Central Park, we're gonna bring the hammer on you. And look, they coerced these boys. They kind of schemed them. They brought the hammer. Those guys were fearing for their life. They was not communicating with each other. They were trying to get each one of them to flip on each other, but it was hard to flip on each other when you know you didn't do it. But you try to do whatever you can to get home, because you don't want to spend one night in jail as a little kid when you're supposed to be going to school the next day. Fear and intimidation never works. Fear and intimidation to get these boys to confess, well, eventually it's going to find out that they didn't do it. Because God got a way of saying, no, you're not going to do that. Trump, your way of doing ain't going to work. Because God got a way of saying, no, it ain't going to do that. Because we don't need cops being amped up and rev up looking for somebody because they've been fueled by hate. Your hate. I no longer want to understand these guys' anger. In other words, they doing psychological. Trump saying, look, forget that psychological. They confessed if that lady died, they need to die too. More from Trump. How can our great society tolerate the continued brutalization of its citizens by crazed misfits? By crazed misfits. So in Donald Trump mindset, without even knowing these boys, they were crazed misfits. When these boys really wasn't crazed misfits. That's just what they told you, the people, when it came to this case, because they were looking to crack this case as soon as possible. They don't want the idea that these crazy boys running around New York City and you might be next. Joe Biden talked about that a lot. That's why he had stringent rules that's right along with Trump. That's why I always say Biden, Trump, same character, same dude, same bigot, same racist. One just red, one just blue, one blue MAGA, one red MAGA. Both of them vision of making America great is twisted. How can our greatest society tolerate the continued brutalization of its cities by crazed misfits? Criminals must be told that their civil liberties ends when the attack on our safety begins. I agree with that. When I was young, I sat in a diner with my father and witnessed two young bullies cursing and threatening a very frightened waitress. And that does happen today. You got big mouth people with no home training, just arrogant bullies, and they tend to take that out on people, any kind of people. They were cussing out and threatening a very frightened waitress. Two cops rushed in, lifted up the thugs and threw them out the door, warning them never to cause trouble again. I miss the feeling of security New York's finest once gave to the citizens of this city. Let our politicians get back our police department power to keep us safe. Unshackle them from the constant chant of police brutality, which every petty criminal hurls immediately at an officer who has just risked his or her life to save another's. We must cease our continued pandering to the criminal population of this city. Give New York back to the citizens who have earned the right to be New Yorkers. Send a message loud and clear to those who would murder our citizens and terrorize New York. Bring back the. Now, my first time reading this, maybe your first time reading, a lot of this stuff I can agree with it. Do that to those who you know committed the crime. Be harsh on them. Make them pay the price. And if you need to make a spectacle out of it to scare the rest of the people not to do it, fine. Don't kill them. Don't set them on fire. Don't gas them. Don't give them a lethal injection. But you can put him in a position where he'll never get out another day in his life, and he'll always do hard labor. And if you do something like that, we're not going to monkey around with you. If you find out to be guilty, you're going to get the same thing. Now we're done with this article, and we're done with this, and we're done with that. Let's talk about another person that was involved with this crime. So it wasn't just Trump. Trump wrote out a letter. Some of that stuff I agree with, but the targeting from the boys. Now, let me go back to say this. These boys were coerced into confessing. Donald Trump needed to know that. They were young, intimidated, and the thoughts of being in jail for one night is terrifying, let alone forever. And some of these boys been in there over 5 years for a crime that they did not commit. Terrorizing and the pressure that you have to go through. Trump, that's what these boys had to go through. And you wrote that letter, and even though your intention, you may have some good intentions of it, a lot of your overtoning voice or your overbearing mindset was selective, it was racist, it was prejudice, and you need to repent for it. Now, I get it. Hey, you do the crime and somebody get hurt, somebody die, you need to pay the penalty. We need to hit you so hard that the rest of them will think twice about doing it again. And look, the death penalty can't do that. Lethal injection can't do that. Your overbearing from that letter did make a great impact on New York City. And you got some people, if they believe you and trust you and love you, they're going to say, hey, why would Trump lie? Maybe these boys were animals. When the boys wasn't animals. Somebody else was the animal. And they just happened to be right time, right opportunity. Let's get this going. Before we go any further, let's talk about Linda Fairstein. Linda Fairstein was the prosecutor for the Central Park 5 boys. She was what Kamala Harris used to be. Her job was to find the evidence to lock these boys up. Her job was to try to get a conviction, quick, fast, in a hurry. Problem is, she enlisted people in her other job. Now, as a prosecutor, you have a team that work with you, and she was determined to get these boys by any means necessary. And whatever evidence she can come up with, good, bad, or ugly, she would have used it against these boys. Her team wasn't always fair. Trump was a Democratic at that time. Mayor Ed Koch was a Democratic at that time. So you can't make this about the Republicans, because none of these people were Republicans. Republicans don't rule New York, especially New York City. Democrats do. I repeat, Democrats do. This lady was a staunch Democrat, and she worked hard to convict these boys with whatever evidence she can find, and she worked hard to keep them in jail. Saying all that, she had become an author, a very, very successful author, making big money as an author. That's Linda Fairstein. So when you got Donald Trump, who was a Democrat at that time, financing a lot of Democratic political leaders, and then you got Donald Trump, you got Mayor Ed Koch, Democrat, who wanted these boys fried, died, and laid to the side.
For people to go to their defense is unbelievable. For people to go to their defense is unbelievable.
She got him! She got him! She got him!
And then you got Linda Fairstein, the ultimate Karen, the ultimate opportunist, who got filthy, stinking rich, writing the first book about the Central Park boys, and then she started getting into crime novels. So you see, Democrats are involved in these boys' conviction. Now, let's go to these boys and what they had to say. Now, first person is Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton, here you go, Mr. Potato Head himself, former FBI agent. I mean, not agent, but former FBI informant. A man who constantly asking Trump for money to build his dreams, and Trump give it to him. That's why I don't like none of these crooked politicians.
Good evening. I stand before you as the president of National Action Network. We do not endorse candidates, but we report where candidates stand on criminal justice.
You do. You are the National Action Network, bruh. You are the National Action Network. You endorse, man. Why you sit down that line? You have all these Democrats come to the National Action Network to talk to black folks. Put them as hoodwink and trick them. I will never see you have no Republicans there. But you don't take sides. You are the National Action Network, Uncle Skinny. So stop with that lie.
Economic empowerment, health equity, and other issues. On one side of this race, is Donald Trump. New York I've known for 40 years. Only once in that time did he take a position on racial issues. He spent a small fortune on full-page ads calling for the execution of 5 innocent young teenagers.
Now, to be fair, he known Trump for a long time. Him and Trump been buddies for a long time. When Al Sharpton was up to his conniving, scheming, conning self, I mean, he was a great civil rights advocate, but he was doing some dirty stuff. Come to find out this guy was an FBI informant, and that's the reason why he got a cushy job on MSNBC. Now he's out of that game. Donald Trump took that ad out, as you read. It wasn't just for the Central Park 5 boys. It was a message to every person that committed a crime in New York of that nature. Every person that harms the innocent and tried to rob and maim and kill the innocent. That was for everyone, not just the Central Park 5 boys. It was for them, but it was for anybody. But Al Sharpton's not going to say that. That message is for anybody. He said, look, if you're going to be doing this, you better expect for the hammer of God to come down on you. So don't expect the hammer of God on you, so don't do it.
Well, I'm going to bring them out in a minute, and you'll hear from them tonight. Because they were not executed, they're here to continue to fight.
And we're glad that they wasn't executed. We're glad that the lady didn't die, because if the lady died, probably would have got some kind of harder punishment. Probably life in prison. If she died, them boys would be in prison for life. Even with a confession, they would have been in prison for life. Guaranteed.
But it was there that I saw Trump love to fan racial flames.
At the same time, during that time, you were still taking money from Trump, dude. You're still taking money for Trump. While he was fanning that flame, you were probably fanning it right next to you while he write a check to feed your fat, let me shut up, to keep your business afloat, to make sure that that building belongs to you at the location National Action Network on St. Nicholas. I think it's St. Nicholas, one of them boulevards.
The other side is a woman that I've walked with in Selma, Alabama to commemorate the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday.
What does that have to do with anything? You walked with her. Whoop-de-doo. You walked with Hillary Clinton. That's just a thing that people, y'all Democrats do that every year. You walk Selma. For what? Black people still ain't got a hate crime bill. Black people haven't gotten the economic justice. We haven't gotten economic equality with white society in America today. Equal. You're supporting people and pushing these people, and y'all going out there doing a march, knowing doggone well that these people are not going to do anything for black people. The one who you marched with sat there and told black people, I'm not just going to do anything just for black people. No. Let me stop.
Kamala Harris spoke to me that day about unity and passing bill. All I ever heard from Donald Trump.
That dude lying out his teeth. Why would she sit there and talk to you about unity and passing bill? Who are you, Al? You're MSNBC host. You're not the Al Sharpton back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, man. You're a TV show host. While y'all was walking down Selma, y'all was talking about policies and stuff. Like, get out of here with that stuff, man. Guys, y'all sit there and believe this stuff from these people, man. Y'all need to get y'all head checked, man. They be saying stuff just to be saying stuff, and they'll slip in that little blackness so you could believe that she's down. She walked with me on Selma. She took a brick upside the head. She's the new John.
Was how he can get an advantage. I see one candidate who wants to protect the right to vote.
All right, I got to take my glasses off on this. Democrats and Republicans are doing gerrymandering. They do it just to try to keep power. They do it on both sides. They've been doing it like crazy here in New York. That's how AOC won and beat Crowley, because of gerrymandering, redistricting. They got rid of Dennis Kucinich because he was so powerful. He was doing a lot. He was making things happen. He was one of the real ones. They redistricted. They changed the zone because it was hard to get that guy out of office, and we don't need a John McCain, Bernie Sanders type person that's not going to 100% follow our lead.
While the other has tried to cook up 11,000 votes in Georgia.
That's already been debunked. God, y'all got me defending this man. God, sometimes just telling the truth, you want to go with the narrative and all that. They already done proven that that man was asking them to double check the votes. He wasn't asking nobody to look for votes. He said, double check. I can't believe Biden won me. This is the pandemic. How in the world this Negro beat me? Somebody cheated somewhere because Joe ain't it. Bernie Sanders may be it, but Joe definitely ain't gonna it. So how he beat me? Man, y'all need them, especially in Georgia, a pretty much red state. Yeah, I need y'all to go back and look at that stuff, man, because I think some missing votes here. Go look again, and I bet you'll find more votes. Boy, y'all got me defending Trump. He said, all I need is 11,000 more votes, then I can challenge this. He ain't say go find me. How the heck you gonna go find 11,000 votes? So he's up there being biased. He said we don't endorse candidates, but he's endorsing Kamala Harris right now and not endorsing Donald Trump, which is his prerogative because Donald Trump is not it. And Kamala Harris dang sure ain't it. So I'm gonna sit it out when it comes to the top of the ticket.
I see a candidate who with Joe Biden brought leaders to the White House to confront violent hatred.
Joe Biden don't confront violent hatred. Joe Biden is a violent hatred man. Joe Biden is the one who came up with the worst bill for black people, second to anything having to do with slavery. Don't try to make him a hero.
Running against a man who said neo-Nazis in Charlottesville were fine people.
He said there are good people on both sides. Good people on both sides. Both sides of what, Trump? Are you saying not all these people that were in khakis, violent and evil people? You're trying to say it's just some of these people were just, they racist, yes, but they just weren't a regular protest. They wasn't trying to harm nobody. See, racists, a lot of racists going to be down low and not going to say anything because they know the hammer might come down on them.
I see a candidate who has sought to reform and uphold the law, and a man who wrongly assumes his mugshot appeals to black.
Why are you worried about this man mugshot? The man want to get a t-shirt and a mugshot. If some black people buy it, I don't give a crap. If they don't buy it, I don't give a crap. If they buy it and just burn and put it in a trash can, I don't care. Why are you talking about Trump when you need to be talking about the policies of the policies of Kamala Harris? Why are you not talking about the policies of Kamala Harris that's gonna change the justice system for the better than make it worse? Why are we not having that conversation? Why are you going through a whole spill on Trump? The DNC convention was all about dump on Trump. It was not filled with substance, power, energy, excitement, a vision for tomorrow. That was not there. Let me keep going.
I worked with Kamala Harris. In every job she's had, she has consistently committed to making government work for those of us who've been disadvantaged.
Is this true? He worked with her in every job that she had. When she was a prosecutor, he worked with her. When she was at McDonald's, he worked with her. When she was a DA, he worked with her.
All Donald Trump has been consistent about is making himself richer and sowing division to get that done.
I believe you guys are doing just as much as sowing division as anybody. Just as much. Listen to you. You're sowing division. That man got supporters too, and you're sowing division against him. He ain't the only one that sow division. You guys sow division also.
Man sat right here in Chicago a few weeks ago refusing to apologize for claims that migrants were taking black jobs. Well, then no.
Why would he apologize, man? Because that's true. It amazed me how all of a sudden these people are dumb. These people hang on these people try to indict Trump on every word that come out of his mouth, knowing that he gonna say something out of his mouth that's gonna get him indicted. And it really nothing to it. Hey, look, man, look, hey, you're killing me over here, man. What if I turn around and I say something that's gonna kill you, man? Well, you want me to kill you, man? Do you want me? And y'all gonna literally think he's talking about killing somebody when he's probably talking about cutting a joke or something like that. You're killing me. You're killing me. Trump tells some jokes to somebody in the corner, and they laugh and holding their belly, talking, Trump, you're killing me. Trump, you're killing me. They're gonna bust the door down and say, ha ha, I got you on murder. You can never run for president again. Oh boy, these people.
November, we gonna show him when blacks do their job.
What the hell are you talking about, Al Sharpton? Let me go back. Blacks do their job. Voting is not us doing our job, dude. Voting is our, not only a privilege, but it is our right now, and it is a high commodity. And that vote is very precious. And our duty is not just to give it away, Al Sharpton. Let's go back.
For claims that migrants were taking black jobs. Well,
they are.
We gonna show him when blacks do their job.
What the hell that mean? What the hell that mean? Migrant workers are taking black jobs. They hiring them on the underground, EXO white yellow vest on. They're hiring out there doing scaffolding work and things like that that normally cost $35, $40 an hour. These people getting it for $15, $20 and happily doing that. It's not fair. Yes, they're happy about doing that, but the person who's getting paid $30 an hour, he's happy. Put them back in those rafters and let them clean the windows or whatever they're doing. Stop sitting up here assuming that black people don't want to work hard jobs. White people want to, you pay them right, it doesn't matter. You give them decent benefits, it doesn't matter. That's something you need to go eat.
And we are going to join with whites and browns and Asians, and we're going to do a job on those that have done a job on us.
What the hell did you just say?
Tonight we are going to realize.
All right, enough of your mouth. Let me just get to the Central Park boys, because you just yipping and yapping, man. That's that preaching you. Let's get these boys out here. Now, Yusuf, the brother in the middle, very intelligent brother. He's now the city council. He sits on city council New York, and he's got a bright future, man. I can see this brother. I can see this brother becoming the next president. This we won't go back theme. Go back to what? Nobody's going back to slavery, man. God got this. God's not going to allow it to happen. Kamala Harris ain't going to keep us from going back to slavery, and Donald Trump is not going to put us in slavery, put us back in chains, as Joe Biden said.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
God ain't going to let it happen. None of them are the answers. And look, I'm sorry. The brother in the middle, sweet guy, love his babies. I talked to him. I said, hey, man, I don't think you go back to Central Park. He said, I can't go. I'm traumatized. This boy is traumatized. This man is traumatized to this day. You can see it in him. That's why Trump need to repent and break these boys off and try to work with them to fix things. Get on your knees and say, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was horrible back then. What I meant in the ad was if you do harm somebody and they die, you should get the you should get death penalty just like y'all gave her the death penalty or him the death penalty. If somebody die as a result of your crime and you're connected to that death, you should die. I don't care about the age. That was my whole mindset. You guys confess, and I just assumed that you really did it. I have nothing to fight me on whether you did it or not. I'm from high society, not from the streets. I don't understand they coerce you and manipulate you and fear tactic you to get a confession out you, starve and deprive you of food and lights and stuff like that. No, I didn't know. I apologize, and I'm gonna work with you. And what's mine is yours. If you need anything, let's do it, baby.
Good evening, people. My name is Corey Wise. 35 years ago, my friends and I were in prison for a crime we did not commit. Our youth was stolen from us. Every day, as we walked into courtroom, people screamed at us, threatened us because of Donald Trump.
It's not because of Donald Trump alone. It's because of Linda Fairstein crafting up a story about what happened that didn't actually happen. Trump didn't craft up a story about what happened. Trump didn't craft that up. Linda Fairstein did. It was Mayor Koch that pressured the police department to get a quick confession out of you, not Donald Trump. Yes, Donald Trump put out an ad saying, look, we got to bring the death penalty back. We need to bring tough cops back. If we sit there and really do what I think we should do with New York, we wouldn't worry about nobody attacking nobody and raping them and possibly killing them and mugging them and terrifying them just because they sit in a park bench, making them get up and get your behind up. This is my park bench. And you threaten to hit them if they don't know. The ad was not just about you guys. It was about using you guys. It's about you guys, but they wanted to use you because they coerced that confession out of you, and that confession out of you made you look like you did it, and they portrayed that you did it, not Donald Trump, but Linda Fairstein, Ed Koch, and the NYPD Police Department, her staff. They all came up with the story and the trial against you. That wasn't Trump. Trump didn't put y'all on trial. Trump said if you did it and that a woman died, as a result of it, you should die too. Now, I don't agree with that, but that's something he did. I can see where he's going with that, but I think if you're going to do that, you do that to an adult. You don't do that as a child. Try him as an adult, put him in jail for life, but don't talk about the death penalty for that child because he's still a child. If he was adult, 100% right in his mind, and he do something brutally like that, smiling and all that kind of stuff, and he really did it with a real true confession like the one who did it, yeah, I can see why you want that person to die even at a young age, because that person was brutally hurt, maimed, and end up dying as a result of that person committing the crime against that person, whether it's rape, whether it's drug deal or whatever. He's saying, look, you confess, and since you did it, because you said you did it, if that woman died, you should die too. Why? Because you said it. You confessed it. That's why I said y'all need to come together, because Trump need to understand that in the black neighborhoods, these people want a quick, something happened horrible, they want a quick conviction, they want a quick catch, they want to quick incarcerate, they want to do it, and they're pressured by the mayor, they're pressured by the NYPD, they're pressured by city council, they're pressured by senators to get this thing nipped in the bud. Let's find this killer so we can not lose business in New York, because that's what this is all about. The letter and everything was all about hurting Trump's business interests in New York. Now, whether he's genuinely serious about stopping crime, then you need to come together with those brothers and work out a hate crime bill, number one, and number two, a strategy of incarceration. Let me keep going.
$85,000 on a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for our execution.
Again, he shouldn't be calling for execution of children. He calling for execution only if you guys did it. If you did it, and by you guys being coerced to confessing it, he assumed that you did it because you said you did it. So of course he's calling for your execution. Now, it's wrong for him to call for execution of children. That's horrible. That should only be left for an adults in their right mind doing these heinous acts, not kids.
We were innocent kids, but we served a total of 41 years in prison.
Yes, you were innocent kids, but at that time, you confessed. So you have to educate people on the criminal justice system in the neighborhoods and how we have to deal with this overbearing pressure, intimidation tactics, and this good cop versus bad cop thing. We need to nip this in the bud so this don't happen to you guys again. And we talked about that in that meeting when I was there. We need to start putting pressure on these police departments to stop this intimidation and scaring people to get a case closed quick, fast, in a hurry for the sake of your record, your chief, and the city.
Reverend Al Sharpton stood with us. Now, I'm proud to stand with him today. Vice President Kamala Harris has also worked to make things fairer. I know she will do the same as president. Now, prove that.
Now, that's a bald-faced lie. Kamala Harris' history is she was Linda Fairstein, dude. She was a prosecutor. And in your case, if she was running your case, She was there to prosecute you. She was going to find an easy way to get a confession out you, to nip it in the bud, to get you in jail so the city can be safer. So business prospects can continue to grow for the city of San Francisco, Oklahoma. She was Linda Fairstein. Linda Fairstein, the Democratic prosecutor that worked hard to get you locked up. It wasn't Trump. Trump did not work hard to get you locked up. Got to be truthful with this. I got to be fair. I know you hate it, but I got to be truthful with it. He didn't work hard to get you locked up. He took out an ad after you confessed to it and said, if this lady die, you should die too. And this should be an example to anybody else who want to brutally harm our citizens of New York, who are just doing things right, living right, and just doing the normal thing, go to work, have fun, relax, and stuff like that. These people who target the innocent, we ain't gonna be innocent with them. It's not just about you, it's about anybody that come after you. Since you confessing it, we're gonna use, since you confess it, I gotta use this as an opportunity to say, if she die, you die. And if anybody else on the street dies, whoever do it, they need to die too. Now again, my disclaimer, Bob TV, children, innocent or guilty, unless they a demon. No child should face the death penalty. No adult should face the death penalty. But I can understand when the adults do. But I have no understanding of children 18 and younger going to the death penalty. That is stupid. That is wrong, Trump. And you need to repent for that. You need to say, hey, my mindset, I don't think that's reserved for children. Children mind frame change. I just think we need to be doing more hard policing. If that child commit a crime, that child need to go to jail. He don't need to be posting bail. If it's known that he's committed that crime and there's evidence proving that he did it and he confessed it, he need to do his time. It's not just about you, Corey. That letter was not just about you.
Message.
Man, this guy got a bright future, but he's been out.
These are my brothers. Yes, indeed. America. I am Yusef Salaam, a New York City councilman representing my hometown of Harlem. That's right.
That's right. And I'm proud of him. Let me say this. I'm so proud of Yusef. I was going to work on this campaign. I wanted him to be part of city council because I want his experience to help motivate him to develop programs where other people can't experience that no more. Case in point, I was talking about just this. I really want to see a collaboration, because the reason I believe it wasn't the fuel behind Trump was the fact that this happened where he makes his money. Of course, that's going to anger him. And they needed to properly quell their anger. But NYPD wasn't interested in doing that. They was interested in the mayor, Ed Koch. He needed to quell and calm down New York City after that situation. And by them using pressure to con them boys into saying that they're guilty, it was easy for them to shut the case to ease tension in the city. And it's easy for Trump to say, hey, we got the, all right, since these kids are guilty for doing this. These kids, man, I can imagine if these kids get out again, if they're that brutal, if they get out of jail, they're going to go out there and do that some more and probably harm some more people. We got to find a way to keep them in jail. And yeah, I do believe in the death penalty. But the upper echelon in society and the lower class and the middle class operate on two mindsets. And this is where I hope Salon come in as city council to bridge that gap, to talk about the things that happen on the streets with the coercion and the conning and scheming to get a quick arrest so they can put the city to rest, and how to put yourself in a position where this don't happen to other kids. You're trying to close the case, so you're trying to get this done in one night. Let me keep going. But Salam, I want to see Salam develop a program with city council to protect that. Protect these kids that go to jail and they're getting intimidated, interrogated, and fear is being planted on the inside of them from NYPD. And the only reason NYPD doing that is because Linda, the prosecuting attorney, the prosecutor, and the judges and the mayor is putting that pressure on them. Let's nip this in the bud because it's going to cost us money. We're losing tourist money. And this happened right down at Central Park where the highest value of property is. We can't afford that to drop not one iota. And Trump know about that. So, Yusef, really reach out to Trump to try to fix that and really do a First Step program or something like that, a real one.
Man. Representing my hometown of Harlem, USA. And listen, as my friend Corey Wise just said, 45 wanted us unalive. He wanted us dead. Today, we are exonerated because the actual perpetrator confessed.
Thank God. Thank God. But again, a lot of people wanted you guys to get punished because of the confession that you had. Now, you're going to have some racist people that no matter what, you confess. If you say, I ain't did it, do it, they still going to say you did it because they just racist. And they all Negroes are crime, and all Negroes, anything bad happening in the city, it's a Negro. It's not a white person. It's not nobody like that. It's a Negro. It's not Latino. It's not Asian. It's some Negroes. I know that black did it, that black boy around the corner. I just got a bad feeling about that new black boy around the corner. Anything happening in this town, I bet you he got something to do with that, buddy. I bet you. It's just racist people that even if you fought for your innocent, they still gonna look at you guilty. And now even in this situation where you've been exonerated, Trump still haven't closed that door. And he have to close that door, or he have to help you close that door. That's why I'm calling Trump to get with Salam, and let's nip that in the bud and explain to him, look, I thought you was guilty because you said you were guilty. And where I come from, you said you guilty, you do the crime, you need to do the time. I didn't know that they coerce you into that to get a quick conviction to save the city. I didn't know Koch and Linda Fairstein and the rest of you Democrats did that to you. And I want to work with you where this never, ever happens again. Ever. Now, you guys get a chance, come to my house, come to Trump Towers. I'm gonna take good care of you. I'm gonna take care of you. All right. And look, Yusuf, if you have it, I might have a program for you in my administration if I win.
And DNA proved it. That guy says he still stands by the original guilty verdict. He dismisses the scientific.
Now, did he say, I still stand by the original guilty verdict? He said they say that they wish that the settlement would have never went through, that they didn't win that settlement. And they said based on the evidence, things like that. Now, Trump may still believe those boys are guilty. Then he's wrong for that. He need to take a look at the evidence, and he need to look into the case more, and he need to realize that those boys are innocent and that they already found somebody with the DNA sample. You need to repent to those boys. Say, I'm sorry. And I need to see the evidence that you have because you guys confessed to it. I know this guy confessed later, but you guys confessed to it. Tell him why you confessed to it. I mean, you could show him the movie, but you talk to him.
Scientific evidence rather than admit he was wrong.
So as narcissists
he
do?
He has never changed, and he never will.
You can't say that. Everybody can change.
That man thinks that hate is the animating force in America. It is not. We have the constitutional right to vote. In fact, it is a human right. So let us use it.
I agree with it.
I want you to walk with us. I want you to march with us. I want you to vote with us. And together, and let me tell you, this is going to be so beautiful. And together on November 5th, we will usher in Kamala Harris and Tim Walz into the White House. So I want to do this. When I say one day, I want you to say, see us. One day, one day, when they see us, America will finally say goodbye to that hateful man. We will say what I have said after 7 long years of wrongful incarceration. Free at last. Free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
In closing, I'm proud of Usef. I'm proud of those boys. They're really genuine, kind guys, tender-hearted guys. And you have to be around them to really understand and really hear the story from them, not just the movie, but from them and that night when it happened and how it just happened so rapidly, whether it was in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know, and even then the location of where it happened and you know, it's just a whole lot to it. Now, let me go back to this. For him to think Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is the way to go, I don't believe it. Why? Because Kamala Harris has always been the Linda Fairstein. She is the prosecutor. And she know what it is. She know what it is when the police department and the mayor and the governor and whoever work together, coalesce together to try to get a quick conviction. Find these people, close the case, and let's get the city back on track again. Because as long as they out there, we're in trouble. We got to get the city safe again because they still out there. Now, again, going back, these guys confessed to the murders. Now, when you confess to the murders, you put the image out there that you guys are criminals, you guys are heinous, you guys are degenerates, and you have no home training and things like that when you confess to that. Because this is a brutal beatdown and a possible death of a jogger who just wanted to go jogging. See, that's the image of certain segments of America. When they see that you're confessed, that we got a confession, they confess to doing it, they say they did it, and not knowing what caused the confession. Most people are not just going to confess just to confess because they couldn't get no sleep and they feel guilty. Most people confess because they were coerced to confess, that they was told that if they don't rat the person out that did it, or if they don't do it themselves, they're going to do more time and it ain't going to be tough. I mean, Corey was young in jail, terrified out of his mind. Go back and watch those old videos, terrified out of his mind. Here's innocent kids in jail. Why? Because they were coerced into confessing. You can't get mad at the public for having a certain image of you because you confessed to the crime. Can't get mad at the public. And at that time, Donald Trump was part of the public. He was part of the public that had some money, where he can voice his expression on the situation a little bit louder than everybody. And that foolish move Trump, dumb, took out a 6-page ad because you got to be Mr. Donald Trump and have your say. And Donald Trump has spoken on this situation. You got to be the king of New York and run your mouth and say things. Now, again, we went over the piece. A lot of people probably never read the piece, but the piece basically says that, hey, if you're guilty of this crime and this lady die, you should die too. He wasn't saying that just to you. He was saying that in a general aspect, that if you commit a crime in New York, it should be the law that if that person die, you're going to die right along with them. It should be so tough to do whatever you want in New York. You're not going to just go around here wilding. You're not going to go out here taking old ladies' purses, which was happening a long time back then, mugging. You're not going to sit up here just run around knocking people down. To this day, there's various things that stupid people are doing in New York and different parks like that. To this day. And Trump is saying, look, we ain't going to tolerate foolishness in New York. This is going to be a tough state that if you do something stupid, you're going to pay. And you're going to get equal pay. You go around robbing and stealing and intimidating the elderly and things like that. And if we can get final proof that you did that and you lose your case, you're going to do the time. And let somebody die as a result of you're going to die too. That's what that letter said. And it wasn't just the Democrat Trump who wrote the letter, but it's also Democrat Ed Koch who put the pressure on the police department, because he probably got pressure from Trump, to close this case quick, fast, in a hurry. You got a crooked NYPD that coerce and manipulate and fierce tactic and scared the crap out of some young boys for confessions, having them thinking they'll get a chance to go home if they confess to it, let alone go home 6 months to 1 year to 10 years. You had these boys thinking they can go home that night. That's NYPD, the Democratic mayor, the Democratic doctor, the Democratic prosecutor, and the Democratic rich billionaire that wrote that ad. Now, I would have preferred that you didn't go out there on the stage and make this a political situation, because now you're on the side of a person who was the Linda Fairstein of California. You actually believe that she has a record of helping people like you in those situations. No, she had a record of bombing on you, bringing every conviction that she can down on you. She was supposed to be the prosecutor of the people, represent the people. My job is to prosecute those who prosecute and harm you. And in that letter, Trump is saying, look, if you do this crime, you're gonna really pay for this crime. And a prosecutor, Kamala Harris, you committed this crime, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it and prove that you committed to this crime. I'm asking for the death penalty. I'm asking for life in prison. I'm asking for something. Trump need to repent to those boys, They need to have a meeting. He need to set the record straight. He need to break them off some money. And you say, look, Salon, I know you're in city council, but I can use somebody on your team. I really want to prove to you that I'm not what you think I am. I may have been. Let's say I was the biggest racist in the past and I couldn't stand your guts. But today I want to start afresh. And I want to let you know that I'm proud of who you are. And, hopefully if I win, you can help me in this situation. Let's let bygones be gones. Let's start a program to help kids who are at risk of being a victim of crime in the neighborhood, either as a perpetrator or the victim. I see that there's a high chance you could be one of the two. I want to work with kids that even if they're in a situation like that, I could find a way to get them out. Let's team up, let's link together, and let's do some big things together. That's it. So you finally went through the letter, because most people probably never went through the letter. You realize that, yes, this is about them because they confessed. And since they confessed, I hope they get the death penalty, because I don't care whether you're yellow, black, or white, child, or elderly woman. You go around killing people, then you deserve to get what you get. I hope they give you something that's so strong that everybody say, God dang, they did that to them boys? Man, they ain't doing that, man. I ain't trying to go to jail like them boys. Mission accomplished according to Trump at the end of the day. And I'm about to close. The Democratic Party, that didn't sit with me for them to bring those boys out to make this about Trump. When Trump was not the prosecutor, Trump was not the mayor, Trump was not the NYPD. He was just a citizen who happened to have a check column for a mouth that he expressed what a lot of people were expressing because you guys confessed without them knowing the full story and nobody to tell them the full story until now.